Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry. This is Arc 5, Chapter 5. Let's get right into it, shall we? For a moment, I forgot that the class president was me. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot what happened last episode, but Shion wanted to take Mion's place in class, right? She was going to her school. Let's see.
起立！委員長も少し寝不足みたいですね。最近は寝苦しい夜が続きます。でも、しっかりと睡眠はとるように。いいですね、皆さん。はーい。
I'm not sure this place can be called a school, because there are so many different age groups. It's like a kindergarten and elementary school blended together. Since I had already heard about what this place was like, I didn't feel that uncomfortable. It wasn't too difficult to act like me on here. As Sis told me, Satoshi-kun looked exhausted. I said hi to him, but he ignored me. Wait. Nothing is happening, damn it. Since I knew what he had been going through, his pain looked apparent to me. I was interested in another person in this classroom. Satoko, Satoshi-kun's little sister. She looked as worn out as Satoshi-kun, emotionless like an abandoned doll. Everybody in this room was aware of their circumstances, but no one could do anything for them. So they just acted as though nothing was wrong. Mion will only let me have this one day. If I slacked off even a little bit, today would be over with quickly. I had to figure out what I should do in this limited time. I should probably talk to Satoshi-kun. About what? Anything goes. Cheer him up, sympathize with him, anything will do. If anything will do, motherfucker, can we get some background music in this bitch? More than anything, I just wanted to chat with him. However, Sis had told me. She said that Satoshi-kun didn't communicate much with her lately, and had distanced himself from her. I figured I shouldn't talk to him too casually. I wanted to, but maybe it was better to leave him alone. I needed to keep Sis's warnings in mind, but instead, I decided to ignore them. I looked for Satoshi-kun during lunch break. He was walking as if looking for a place where he could be alone. I caught him in the hallway.
Satoshi-kun.
He turned around, startled by my voice. His facial expression surprised me. He was scowling, clearly a sign of rejection. But I couldn't hesitate. I would lose my only chance if I did.
Genki?
He gave me a look as if saying, "Do I look fine to you?" I never expected to see an expression like that on his face. I felt like my heart was being torn into pieces. As I looked down, he spoke to me. I felt a little glad, but the next thing he said changed that.
元気だよ。他に用はないなら行くよ。昼休みは一人になりたいんだ。
そっか。バイトが大変なんだよね。疲れてるから一人になって休みたいもんね。今日もなんでしょ？今日はどこで？
Sis has found several jobs for him. He worked at a few different places. He was helping out when necessary at any of the shops Mion introduced him to. As a result, he constantly had to do different tasks in different environment almost every time. It's like us in Tokyo Xanadu, huh? On top of that, he requested high-paying jobs from Mion because he wanted a large sum of money as soon as possible. In other words, he chose to mostly do manual labor. He was exhausted every day because he wasn't that physically strong.
どこでもいいだろう。それに、僕がどこで働くか、ミオンなら知ってることじゃないのかい？
Hey, you gotta put some bass in your voice, dog. Mion did help him get the job, yet Satoshi-kun didn't look thankful for that opportunity. This wasn't like him at all. It made me feel sad.
そうだよね。ごめん。
要はそれで終わりかい？
He sounded so harsh. Why was he being like that? Would he ever stroke my head again? I couldn't help my tears. They flowed onto my cheeks. Satoshi-kun looked confused for a moment, but then he frowned again.
ごめん。監督がさ、また練習に来てほしいなって言ってたよ。
監督には戻る気はないし。
たまにはさ、パッと体を動かして汗を流すのもいいと思うんだよ。
He's working out at his job.
ほら。
興味ない。
I didn't know why he was being so hostile towards me. Why did he hate me so much? I was left bewildered.
なんで？どうして？
バイトで忙しいから。めんどくさい。
違うよ。なんで私がここまで嫌われなくちゃならないの？
自分の胸に聞けばいいじゃないか。
自分の胸に？何を？私が何をしたの？わかんないよ、サトシ君。
I couldn't control my emotions any longer. Streaks of tears ran down my cheeks. Satoshi-kun gave me a hateful glare and walked away without saying another word. I couldn't even stop him. If I tried, he would hurt me again with another cutting remark. I couldn't bear that, so I just watched him walk away. I wiped my tears and went back to the classroom. I heard somebody crying from inside. What's going on? I looked around the room to see. It was Satoko. I saw her bento box on the floor. I asked one of her classmates what happened, and it seemed that Satoko had bumped into somebody's shoulder when she stood up to go wash the box out. That was all. But Satoko was crying as if afraid she was going to get chided badly. What happened was very minor. She could just pick up the bento box and things would be fine. It looked like the lid came a little loose, but it was definitely fixable. She didn't have to cry like that. Yet Satoko started begging through her tears.
助けてよ。助けてよ。
Man. Because of what happened with Satoshi-kun, I couldn't suppress my emotions very well. So instead, they exploded. I stormed up to Satoko while elbowing her classmates aside. I grabbed her by the head, then threw her into the wall. Satoko screamed. She didn't seem to understand what had happened. She was shedding tears and shivering. She must be wondering why I did that.
なんであんたがそういう目に遭うか。助けて、ニーニー。
Satoko cried for her brother's help again. And so, I grabbed her head and threw her again. Satoko stumbled and crashed into a desk. The desk fell and the contents of the drawer scattered about. Satoko didn't even stand up. She just crouched and trembled while looking up at me.
助けて、助けて、ニーニー、ニーニー。あんたがそんなだから。
If you weren't like that, Satoshi-kun wouldn't have to suffer. Don't you get it? That's what I wanted to say, but I was too angry to utter another word. I picked up a bunch of textbooks from the floor and threw them at her face.
泣きたければ泣けばいい。でもね、泣いたってね、何も解決しない。なんで泣くの？泣けば誰かが助けてくれるから。その助けてくれる人があんたの代わりにどれだけ傷ついてるかなんて想像もつかないでしょ。分かってるの？
You way out of fucking line, Shion.
あんたの罪が。
Way out of fucking line.
あんたなんかいなければいい。苦しいなら死ね。へそでも噛んで勝手に死んじゃえばいい。サトシ君まで苦しめるな。
Go fuck yourself. What?
一人で苦しんで一人で勝手に死ね。
Did they change writers for the question for the like answers arc?
お前なんか死んでしまえ。
That's fucked up. Her desperate cries only increased my irritation.
泣けばいいと思うな。サ サトシ君にすがれば済むと思うな。甘えるんじゃない。お前さえいなければ。お前さえいなければ。
I kept on throwing things at her. Satoko curled up to protect herself and cried even harder. At that point, a girl with long hair ran up and huddled over her. You go, Rika-chan. I knew who that was. Rika Furude, one of Satoko's only friends.
サトコをいじめないでなのです。サトコはかわいそうなのです。いじめてはダメなのです。かわいそうだから何をしても許されると思ってる？かわいそうだからサトシ君に寄りかかってもいいわけ？甘やかしてるんじゃないよ。こいつがどこまでも甘えてるから。ダメなのです。サトコをいじめちゃダメなのです。
Rika also became the target of my anger.
私はね、その甘えきったサトコの根性を教育してやってんだよ。
You're trying to push her over the edge, you ain't trying to teach her shit.
邪魔しやがるとあんたの頭から叩き割るよ。
Interesting. I grabbed a chair and lifted it over my head. It wouldn't hurt only a little if I threw this thing at them. Rika tightly closed her eyes and covered Satoko with her body. Now is when Rena would come into play, I'm guessing. I didn't care what the consequences would be. I didn't care if I hurt them.
やめて。
Called it.
みーちゃん。
Rena returned to the classroom and shouted at me. Then, Satoshi-kun rushed in while pushing Rena aside. Seeming to have grasped the situation immediately, he charged straight at me. Until my body had hit the locker, I didn't understand what had happened. There was a loud crashing noise. I had left a dent in it. I crouched there in pain. Good.
サトコ！大丈夫か？サトコ！にーにー！
Satoko pushed Rika aside, jumped at her brother, and started crying again.
どうしたんだよ。一体どうしてサトコが私ね、何もしてないのにミオンさんがどういうことだよ、ミオン。
So, okay. A new thesis here, man. Satoshi thinks this is Mion. The events unfold here, but Satoshi still has a grudge. Like, he's still bearing ill thoughts towards Mion, and he does something to piss the real Mion off at a later date, and that's how he gets offed. That's how he gets Thanos snapped up in this motherfucker, is what I'm guessing. Satoshi-kun shouted at me while clutching his sister. He looked fierce.
どういうことって？私は
Nah, don't do that.
どこが何をしたよ。僕たちが何をしたよ。なんでいつもいじめられなきゃならないんだよ。どうしてだよ。
He released Satoko and rushed up to me, grabbing me by the neck.
さっきサトシ君は私に自分の胸に聞けって言ったよね。ならサトコの胸に聞いてみりゃいいじゃない。何を？サトシ君だって自分で認めてるんでしょ。サトコがあんたにべったり頼ってるからサトシ君の重荷になってるんでしょ。サトコがもっとしっかりしてればサトシ君がこんなに大変な思いをすることなんてない。そいつが全ての元凶なの。
I don't believe what I said was wrong, but after hearing it, Satoshi-kun went berserk.
こいついい加減なこと言うんじゃない。
You brought this on yourself, motherfucker. Satoshi-kun grabbed my hair and threw me to the wall, just like I did to Satoko. However, I wasn't going to back down. I no longer had any control over my emotions at all.
サトシ君だってサトコを甘やかしすぎてるよ。
this is how you repay Mion for doing you a favor like this?
あんたがそうやって際限なく甘やかすから、そいつはいつまで経ってもあんたにすがってばかりなんだよ。
お前に僕たちの何がわかる？何がわかるってんだよ！当然や母さんを村ぐるみで追い詰めて散々いじめて！
Damn!
そして今度は僕たちか！それがその崎家のやり方なんだろう！どこまでも村の裏切り者をいじめ抜く！そんなに楽しいかよ！弱い者いじめがそんなに楽しいかよ！
もうやめて！
That was Rena's voice. She stepped in, looking fierce as a demon.
サトシ君、もうやめてあげて。みーちゃんに悪気はなかった。サトシ君の力になってあげたくて、その気持ちがちょっとずれて空回りしちゃっただけね。
Satoshi-kun looked like he wanted to say something back, but he chose not to.
みーちゃんももうやめて。みーちゃんが誰よりもサトシ君のことを心配してるのは知ってる。だけれどこんなやり方はそれの解決にはならない。そんなのちょっと落ち着いて考えればわかることだよね。
Since Satoshi-kun didn't say anything, I kept quiet too.
ほら、さとこちゃんもお弁当箱を落としたくらいで泣くことはないよ。ね、落ち着いた？さとこ、僕がお弁当箱を拾ってあげますよ。
Rika started picking up the bento box while its owner continued to cry.
みんな、片付けを手伝ってくれる？もうすぐ先生がカレー菜園から戻ってくる頃だよ。これでもう喧嘩は終わったから、先生には余計なことは言わない。いいね。
The classmates looked at each other and nodded, then started picking up the stuff on the floor.
はい、サトシ君もみーちゃんも仲直りの握手。ほら。ごめん、こんなつもりじゃなかったのに。
Tears started to roll down my cheeks again.
僕たちがいじめられてるのは大人の都合で、ミオンとは何も関係ないって知ってるはずなのに。
So don't fucking step into our family situation. Thanks.
ごめん。
さあ、みーちゃんは次にさとこちゃんに謝る。はい。
I was fine with apologizing to Satoshi-kun, but I didn't want to apologize to her. But the situation wouldn't be settled otherwise, so I reluctantly apologized. Satoko nodded, looking discouraged. After that, Rena let me go. My head ached, so I held it with both hands. What was that? What did I do? I didn't want to use this precious time to fight. Sis warned me. She told me I shouldn't talk to Satoshi-kun just like that. What did I come here for? I shouldn't have come here if I knew this was going to happen. Stupid. You're stupid, Shion. I was overcome with emotions because I was so worried about Satoshi-kun. When did things go wrong? Were they wrong from the beginning? I got into a fight with Satoshi-kun, but this was totally the opposite of what I wanted. I regretted it. I hated myself for it. I couldn't blame myself though. I couldn't blame myself enough. My world had been torn apart. I wished the sky would fall and kill me. Sis sounded both amazed and confused.
ただでさえ綿流しの直前でいろいろと忙しいってのに、シオンは話をさらにややこしくしてくれるな。
ごめん。
Sis tried to say something, but she stopped in the middle. After listening to a few complaints, I started telling her about everything that happened today. Sis had to pretend that the trouble I caused today was her responsibility, which must have been very taxing for her.
もう当分は入れ替わる機会はない。
Nah, you lost that privilege.
シオン、あんたちょっとは私の迷惑を考えてほしいな。
それは
Sis had been sympathetic, but maybe I pushed her too far this time. Of course, she would be hesitant to trade spots considering what I did today. The atmosphere felt awkward, so we were both silent for a while.
仮にさ、もう一回機会があったとして、シオンはどうするの？
Now that was a reasonable question. I wasn't prepared to answer though. If I had a chance to go to the school once again to see Satoshi-kun, what would I do? Would I apologize to him about today? I don't think that would work. That might even upset him again no matter how hard I tried. Okay, here is something that he was saying. It was the Sonozaki family who had been harassing his. It would only be natural for him to hold a grudge against us. But why was he only expressing that now? And shouldn't he have been expressing the same thing when he met Shion in Okinomiya, unless he knew back then that it was not Mion? I've been a Sonozaki to him all along. Satoshi-kun stroked my head even though he knew I was Mion Sonozaki.
おね、率直なところ、サトシ君は園崎家を恨んでるんだよね。
See, now you're about to get him popped. Stop.
だと思う。
It was our family that initiated the persecution of the Hojo family, making them into scapegoats. Even after the dam conflict, it wasn't easy for the Hojo family to live in Hinamizawa. Given all that, it's not surprising that Satoshi-kun hates us, the Sonozaki family who puts his family in a devastating situation.
でもさ、だったらなんで今頃になってなの？なんで今頃になってこうなるの？
Because he might be backed into a corner, or he feels like he's at the end of his ropes. There are many reasons, man.
それなら
If he had rejected me in the first place, I wouldn't have wanted to get close to him. My tears wet my cheeks. I didn't bother to wipe them. It's only natural for him to hold a grudge against the Sonozakis. There is nothing unusual about it. Rather, why has he been treating me like a friend? I knew how stupid this question was.
サトシが大人だったからとしか。
そんなのってひどいよ。
She's low-key calling you immature. What? He had been treating me as a friend because he was mature. But now that he had become stressed mentally and physically, he has decided to reject me? No matter how hard I thought about it, I couldn't find anything to fault him with. If there was somebody to blame, it would be somebody I had never accused before.
なんであいつはサトシ君の一家をいじめようって言い出したわけ？ダムに賛成したのはサトシ君の親でしょ？サトシ君が賛成していたわけじゃないでしょ？なんで一家丸ごといじめようって話になったの？どうしてよ？
Mion couldn't say anything in return. Actually, it wasn't hard at all to guess the reason. The hag didn't give any specific reason. The hag didn't give any specific order to harass the Hojo family. She just thought the Hojo family was getting in the way. The people around her noticed what was bothering her and took steps to get rid of it. Though, of course, she must have known how influential her own words were. She didn't just think it, she gave what she must have known would be interpreted as an order. She's the one to blame for initiating the attack on the Hojo family.
前にお姉はフルデの神主さんのことを輪を乱すのは大人じゃないみたいなことを言いましたよね。つまりこれもそういうわけ。村中が団結しなきゃならない時に異を唱える北条家は大人じゃなかったと。だから制裁する必要があったと。そういうわけなんでしょ？
Mion couldn't say anything in return, meaning that my accusation was the truth.
なら制裁は北条の親だけで十分じゃない。本家の秘密部屋にでも連れ込んで指の一本も跳ねてやったらいい。でもそこまでで十分でしょ？ サトシ君は関係ない。サトシ君には何の関係もない。サトシ君が何をしたっていうの？サトシ君に何の罪があるっていうの？答えてよ、答えてよ、ミオン、ミオン。
はい、ではよろしくお願いいたしますね。失礼いたします。
Oof. Mion suddenly changed her tone and hung up. She must have done that to escape from my questions. I was furious. I started redialing the number, but then I remembered that we had decided she would hang up the phone after using that phrase when she saw the hag coming. I doubted she actually saw the hag, but it was the rule, so I couldn't call back for a while. I went to the bathroom to wash my face and cool down. I turned on the faucet. The water felt lukewarm. It didn't help me cool down at all. I'm disgusted by my own childishness. I just want to fill my void. I didn't care about him. Considering that, Satoshi-kun was very generous, but I don't know if I can forgive Satoko. That's a different story. So you don't care about him, you only care about the nice feelings that his affection, that his attention is giving you, basically. The same affection could be shown by anyone, and you would still feel the same. Him as a person doesn't matter. That's fucked up. I was looking up at the ceiling with my arms and legs spread out. It's not that I wasn't getting hungry. I didn't live with my parents. I didn't live in the school dorm. That meant I had to cook something myself when I wanted to eat. I knew that, but I still didn't feel like getting up. It had been several days since I began this empty life. It must be tomorrow. The Watanagashi festival, I mean. I heard the doorbell ringing. I ignored it at first, but it rung persistently. I started hearing knocking alongside Kasai's rude voice.
Shion-san, いらっしゃるなら弁当を買ってきました。
I didn't ask him to. He must have known I hadn't eaten enough and that I had been feeling down lately.
やはり食事を取られていませんでしたか。
別にお腹が空いてるわけじゃないし。
But when Kasai put the food down on the table, my stomach reacted in a very primitive way by making some noise.
ほら、お腹が鳴っている。食べた方がいいですよ。
I was hungry, but had no appetite. I mean, I did have an appetite, but I didn't have the energy to eat. Yet, I would feel bad about wasting the food Kasai had brought. I picked up my chopsticks just to humor him.
最近はばあさんがマークしてるんじゃなかったの？私のとこなんかに来て大丈夫なわけ？
おりょうさんは綿流しの打ち合わせなどでお忙しく、しおんさんのことまでは最近は頭が回らないようでしたので、クリームコロッケは好物ではありませんでしたか？
うん。美味しいです。ありがとう。
While I nibbled on the food, Kasai read through the magazines I bought.
Kasaiは、うん。
I had never talked to Kasai about something like this before. Since I've always believed myself superior to him psychologically, I hesitated to show him my weaknesses to him.
そういう悩みも年頃にしておくのは悪いもんじゃありませんよ。
Kasai、あんた全部知ってる？
ミオンさんから少々力になってほしいと頼まれました。
お姉か。
心配しておられましたよ、ミオンさん。
Without responding, I threw the last croquette in my mouth.
北条聡君の近況を知りたがっていると思いまして、少し情報を集めてきましたが、余計なお世話でしたか？
余計なお世話です。でも、せっかく集めてきた葛西の顔を立てるために、まあ一応聞いておきます。
What a fucking bitch, dude. Kasai chuckled, but stopped quickly as if thinking it rude.
北条哲平が家を出たらしいです。沖宮に実婚の関係の女性がいまして、そこへ転げ込んだようです。
哲平？誰？ああ、サトシ君のおじか。
家には、叔母の北条玉江と北条聡、聡子の3人となりました。玉江は、哲平が別の女性のところへ逃げたのだと気づき、
ってことはあれだ。ますます叔母の里子いびりが加速して、 サトシ君もそれのとばっちりで、ますますに苦労してるってことか。
サトシ君の方は分かりませんが、サトコさんの方は近所でも噂になるくらい決して良くはない状況です。
If Satoko looks miserable, that means Satoshi-kun must be going through equally miserable torture. What kind of fucking conclusion, man?
そのおばって、なんとか憎き北条家の片割れなわけだから、園崎本家で制裁しちゃおうって話にはなってないの？
He's also one of the remaining Hojos after all. The uncle is gone, so why not the aunt?
園崎本家としては、北条夫妻の事故死で一応のけじめがついたので、北条関連では一切手を出すなと言命が出ています。夫妻の事故死を疑う警察が北条家近辺を未だマークしているという噂がありますので。
事故死はお社様のたたりってことになってるからね。神罰が下ったんなら、それ以上は人間が下すまでもないってこと。
Kasai put on a faint smile. Come to think of it, it is hard not to suspect the involvement of the Shonozaki family in all the incidents said to be Oyashiro-sama's curse. Really? Somebody strives to get rid of the hag's concerns on the day of the Watanagashi festival. Furthermore, the Watanagashi festival is going to be held tomorrow. Will the curse strike again this year? If so, who will be the victim? Now that I think about it, there were cases of multiple victims in the past. The first and third year, it was just one. But the second year, the victims were a couple. So it wouldn't be too strange if two people fell victim this year. It seems like a good time. It would be best for Satoko and her aunt to be the victims. Satoshi-kun will be freed from every source of his worries all at once.
葛西、今年のお社様のたたりの犠牲者は誰かって、もう決めるのはばあさん？ならお姉は、明日の犠牲者をもう知ってるってことになるな。どうなの葛西？何か聞かされてる？
シオンさん、私はその件については一切聞かされていません。
まあそりゃそうか。葛西ごときの耳に本家の最高機密が入るわけもないか。
そういうことです。少なくとも私の関係する界隈ではそういう話は降りてきていません。ですが、ご存知の通り本家は裏の世界の方々に通じます。私にはその一部を垣間見ることも叶いません。
Maybe I could try asking Sis about it, but she won't talk. She's strict about keeping promises, unlike me. If the hag told her to keep a secret, she would take it to her grave.
今年の綿流しでおばとさとこが消えちまえばいいのにな。
Shut the fuck up, Shion. Damn, they're writing her to be really fucking unlikable this arc.
葛西、私は憂慮したよ。気を利かせてくれると嬉しいんですけど。
シオンさん、ご冗談を。
わーってるって言ってみただけだって。
I took a glimpse at Kasai. It didn't look like he was actually going to do something to make my wish come true. I wasn't able to go to the village as myself, so I definitely wasn't going to the festival. I didn't care about that. Even so, I was interested in who was going to end up as the victim of the curse. If I just kept lying on this couch, playing hooky, somebody would fall victim in several hours. I had no clue why it had to happen every year, but I was certain that the hag was behind it. All the enemies from the damn conflict had been punished. Only the Hojo couple was left, since most of the other enemies had already gone. The cicadas were crying loudly outside. It made me feel hot. Why was it this hot and humid in June? If Oyashiro-sama was actually punishing people, I would pray for one thing. I would pray that the evil aunt would be punished, and I would offer up Satoko as a sacrifice. Ha! It's hot. When I woke up, Kasai had already gone. Looks like he cleaned the table in the surrounding room. He put my dirty laundry in the hamper in front of the washing machine too. Being a girl of sensitive age, I didn't want a man to clean my room. Well, I would rather thank him than badmouth him. I looked at the clock, it was late afternoon. I had to go grocery shopping. There was nothing left in the fridge, and I would be having just rice for dinner if I didn't go. At that moment, the phone rang. It must be Kasai, I thought. I did hope it was him. He could have brought more food, so then I wouldn't have to go shopping. While I was just being lazy, I didn't feel like going out at all. But it wasn't Kasai on the phone.
おねえ、そこどこ？本家じゃない？
公衆電話からかけてる。だから手短に話すよ。サトシから電話が来たんだよ。
サトシくんが？お姉に？
多分、私にじゃないと思う。シオンにだと思う。サトシは先日の教室での件を謝りたがってるみたいだった。だから、その電話はシオンが受けた方がいいと思って。
How did you get this number?
サトシの電話は、今ちょっと忙しいからすぐかけ直すって言って切ってあるの。だからシオンは、今から私が言う電話番号に電話してあげて。
わかった。
I was stunned for a second, but then recovered and wrote down the number on the back of a magazine.
ありがとう。すぐに電話します。
そうしてあげて。サトシは最近すごく追い詰められてるの。私の声はもう届かないみたいだけど、シオンの声ならひょっとすると届くかもしれないって何の根拠もなく思ってる。
She could have pretended to be me and handled his call, but she passed it over to me.
ありがとう、ミオ。
じゃあね、シオン。
Before she hung up, I put the handset down. Then after a second, I dialed the number in a flash. I heard the dial tone 3 times, 4 times, and there he was.
北条です。
He sounded like an adult. His voice sounded a bit tired too, but it was definitely the voice I loved. I got scared. I was scared that he might become sulky again if I mentioned my name. I couldn't open my mouth for a while.
サトシくんですよね。
さっきはごめん。もう時間は大丈夫なの。
That was the Satoshi-kun I knew. He didn't sound cold like the other day.
全然平気です。
After that, he went silent. I felt the urge to start a conversation. It wasn't fair. He was the one who called in the first place. Then, he finally spoke.
先日はごめん。
Nah, fuck that. You were just defending your sister, man.
私こそごめんなさいです。
ミオンは謝らなくていいよ。僕がどうかしてた。
If this were a face-to-face conversation, he would be stroking my head. It was sad just talking to him over the phone.
僕たちをここまで追い込んだ奴らを、そいつらは。でも、だから。
気にしないで。私だってサトシくんのことをよく理解しようともせず、無神経だった。
We apologized to each other a few times.
それよりサトシくん、大丈夫？いろいろと大変なのに、サトコの誕生日プレゼントのためにアルバイトまでして、だいぶ追い詰められてるんじゃない？もう
バイトはやめたよ。目標額のお金はなんとかため。
そうなんだ。ならもう体を無理させなくていいんですね。本当によかった。
Satoshi-kun tried to say something, but he dropped it instead.
僕よりサトコの方が辛い。
サトコ、大変なことになっていますね。大丈夫なんですか？
あれが大丈夫なように見えるのかよ。
He suddenly sounded upset. I had messed up.
ごめんなさい。
I was so stupid. I had ruined this miraculous conversation with him. Satoshi-kun didn't respond to my apology, so I stopped apologizing.
あんなに誰が見てもわかるくらいに傷ついて、みんな見捨てた。サトコ。
見捨てたつもりなんて。
Nah, you did. You threw that motherfucker at the wall. You definitely abandoned her. I tried to calm him down. I hated what I had just said because of how hollow it sounded. I had no idea what to say next. I felt guilty. Satoshi-kun was desperate to protect Satoko from their evil aunt. But I had wished that Satoko would die tomorrow because of the curse. I was trampling on his desperate hope. He cut himself off in the middle and went quiet for a moment. He must have been choosing his words carefully. Then he finally spoke. His words sounded hollow. This sounds exactly like what Keiichi told me on. I think even the response was the same, you know. Right before Keiichi grabbed the bat and went ham on Satoko's uncle? Okay, now the differences in delivery is different. It's not that I didn't understand why he wanted her taken to the festival. What I didn't understand was, why is he asking me to do that? Was there any reason he couldn't take her there himself? I had a hunch that he might disappear, so I kept asking. He fell silent. Satoshi-kun isn't good at lying or keeping secrets. It was clear that he wanted to hide something. It was lying. The shop owner would be at the festival too, bitch, don't lie to me. But he was also stubborn. He wouldn't admit it if I accused him. I wouldn't want to look after Satoko, even at Satoshi-kun's request, but I'm also glad he's relying on me. I didn't know what to say. I did know though that I wasn't going to turn down his request. He sounded as if he were going to disappear tomorrow. I didn't like the sound of that, so I intentionally sounded sulky. We talked about trivial stuff, for just a little while. When the conversation was almost over, Satoshi-kun asked something else. The curse, bitch. If it wasn't telling before, it's definitely telling now. He's about to dip. In fact, he has one foot out the door already. That's the rule. Every kid in the village knows that. Though I was kidding, I wanted him to deny it. He admitted that he had thought of it. I guess Rena told me that much. Satoshi-kun tried to say something but hesitated. He was breathing so heavily. Was he sick? He sounded distinctly more sickly from when this conversation had started. He breathed heavily when punctuating his words. Satoshi-kun repeated his question.
ミオン、最初の質問を。ミオンは、お社様のたたりって存在すると思うかい?
What did he want me to say? Yes, because it's Oyashiro-sama himself asking you that question right now. Could I make him feel relieved with my answer? How should I respond? Oh shit, we're gonna get a choice? The answer was simple.
たたりなんてあるわけないじゃないですか。
Oh man, it would have been a prime time for us to get a choice, you know what I'm saying? You say the wrong thing, boom, bad ending. I didn't know what was bothering him, but I wanted to make him feel better by laughing his worries away. But Satoshi-kun instead fell silent. Would my answer make him happy, or maybe sad? I couldn't tell. One thing was certain, I didn't make him feel any better.
変なことを聞いてごめん。
Repeatedly, by the way.
ごめん。
I felt like I let him down, so I apologized in a rush.
たたりだろうと、この村の何者かの陰謀だろうと、僕は絶対に消えない。
消えないよ、サトシ君は。
消えないよ、サトコに。あのぬいぐるみを買ってやるまではね、もうすぐお給料がもらえることになってる。その日までは絶対に消えない。
He chuckled. I knew he was trying to relieve me, but it worked the opposite way. He sounded as though he didn't care what would happen after he bought the damn teddy bear.
あ、おばさんが帰ってきたからもう切るよ。
うん。
ミオン。
何?
Even though he wanted to hang up the phone because of his aunt coming back, Satoshi-kun took a breath to tell me something important.
サトコのこと頼むからね。
I should have said yes right away, but I still couldn't forgive Satoko, so I just kept quiet. You couldn't forgive Satoko for fucking existing? I hate Shion.
変なこと頼んでごめんじゃ。
He was obviously disappointed. What had I done? I wanted to apologize. I wish I could. But it was too late. The dial tone left no doubt. Now that was depressing. Somebody whispered to me from behind. They told me I was going to be the victim of the curse this year, so I'm going to disappear soon. There'll be nobody left to take care of Satoko. Somebody whispered to me from behind. They told me I don't have much time, that I won't stay as myself for much longer, so I had to make the best of the days I had left. What could I leave for Satoko? She wanted that huge teddy bear. She wanted a peaceful life in which nobody would bully her. Okay. So how does this go down? Let's say, canonically, that Satoshi is the one that dies by the curse. Dies in the name of the curse, I guess. Is the death of the aunt a revenge killing? By whom in that case? Does Shion kill her? Does Satoko kill her? Because Nini is no longer there? What did she say? What did Satoko say about her Nini? That he moved away? Was that it? I don't remember. I might have to revisit that. Regardless. I whispered to the person at my back. Suck my dick. Bestow your violent nature and formidable strength upon me. I want your peaceful mind, filled with hatred. Oh, that's it? Okay. In that case, we are going to call it an episode right here. Next episode, I suppose it's time for the Watanagashi festival once again. Until then, this has been your boy Karagol Gaming. I'm out of here. Love y'all and deuces.